I think you could smoke a tequila though.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Rob. I'm here with Mike and Joe. This is the Hogs, Hops, and Hope podcast. Hot takes, cold beers, zero credentials. Guys, we made it. It's been just over 6 months of doing podcasts, of trying to figure out what to talk about, not talking about the draft, not talking about, uh, I don't know, anything, mock drafts, and not talking about Terry,
Barry.
his whole thing, and talking too much about kickers and the stadium and all of this. And here we are. It's Wednesday, September 3rd, and the NFL kicks off tomorrow. How excited are you at this point for football tomorrow? Even though Washington's not playing tomorrow, how excited are you for football tomorrow?
I'm so excited.
I can tell in your
Can't you
voice.
tell? Yeah. I don't know. Can the game end in a tie tomorrow? That'd be fun. Let's
All right. Well, maybe we just maybe we're not so excited because we haven't started drinking heavily tonight during the thing. So let's go with what's on top. What are we drinking? Mike, we'll go to you first. What do you got tonight?
So I'm back to my standard Yingling. I wasn't
Okay.
able to make it out for find something special, so just my go-to.
Okay. Joe, what do you got?
tonight I am finishing off, or I'm getting into the third one of my variety pack of Shock Top, and
Okay.
this is the Mango Island Wheat.
Yeah.
And
Keeping that fruit
it's
flavor. I like that.
that's right. It's mangoey, it's wheaty, it's delicious.
Mangoey, huh?
Sure, why not? Let's go with it.
All right. Well, I have a extra pale ale from the El Segundo Brewing Company in El Segundo, California. And it's a little bit lighter than my normal ales. And I'm not sure what it tastes like, but it's good. I got it because it was the can. Because I thought the can was cool.
Okay.
Because that's how I buy my beers nowadays, is what does the can look like?
It's a good enough reason.
So you're kind of judging a beer by its can?
I'm judging a book by its cover, absolutely. Hey, whatever works, right? All right, so at this time next week, we'll be talking about what happened between Washington and New York in game one, in week one. But before we got to talk about leading up to it. We got one last show here before the season kicks off. We're gonna tie a little bow on Redskins roster, at least where it stands as of today, and we'll talk a little bit about the Giants, and we'll kind of rehash some of what happened in the two games against the Giants last year. So I was kind of looking to see, because we've joked about 1 year contracts and turnover for this team, and last year how there were, I think, 30 new players on the team and that type of thing. So I went back and I looked, and between the final active roster of 2024 and what was released, was it yesterday or today, the unofficial depth chart, there are 18 brand new players on the roster, and 3 people who weren't on the active roster but on injured reserve last year who are now on the active roster. So there's 21 different players who are on the active roster from week 17 or week 18 with the bye or whatever, the last game of the season last year, and what they're going to be starting with this year. And I guess we should expect this with 1 year contracts and changing out and people coming back. But and then I look back at week 1 of 2024, and from the starters from that game, compared to what is on the depth chart for this year, there are 8 new starters or people in new positions. so basically more than a third of the roster is going to be new starters or people in new positions this year. So I know we've talked about this in general, over the last couple of months, but now that we're here, the game is in a couple of days. They're not going to be bringing in a new starter anytime soon. Certainly not before Sunday. So how confident are we with another high turnover? Again, 20 players, give or take, 8 new starters. And that doesn't, the 8 new starters, that does not include the kicker, because that would be the 9th new starter. But the only position group that had no changes is tight end. They brought back the same 4 tight ends that we had last year. Everything else has new players. So Joe, we'll go to you first. How do you feel about, this is where we are. We've talked about this a couple of different times about how we think, did they do enough to upgrade the offensive line? Did they do enough to upgrade the defensive line? And we're talking about these things as things were in motion. Things are no longer in motion. How are you feeling about everything?
Feeling pretty good, I think. We looked at, let's look at how 2024 started, and there was a lot of turnover there too, and it worked last year, so maybe it can work again. I'm feeling, yeah, I'm just so excited. Finally, football. We finally have made it. This is just, yeah, I just can't wait.
See, we talk about beers and now you're happier. So
yeah, that's right.
Mike, what are your thoughts?
So, I mean, yeah, we've talked about it. We think they've made upgrades in these positions, so you hope all these starters, these are the right upgrades. I think a third of your starters turn over. There's a risk that it takes some time for them to play well together and get their groove together. So I mean, look, you can put 22 of the greatest football players to ever play on the field together, and they could still have issues connecting and working together. So I mean, we'll see. I mean, I'm optimistic. I think
Right.
we made good moves, but we'll see how they work together.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of in agreement with that. It's Joe, as you said, we had a monster turnover last year, and things seem to turn out okay. Big picture, when you look at the whole season, and so I am trying to be optimistic about it. I do still have some concerns, like the offensive line that's going to start. I don't think that offensive line has really practiced together until this week. So I do have some concerns about that. And you're starting a rookie right tackle. Is apparently Connolly's going to start, since what Cosme's out. But overall, I do feel good about it. I do feel good about this team, and hope that I think they're in a good position to build off of what they started last year, and show improvement as a team. So I feel good about it too.
I think one of the hardest things that we're looking at as fans right now is that there has been 3 preseason games, and we've seen the starters really for 4 plays.
Yeah.
It's like we haven't seen them gelling. So we're not watching practices. We don't know how well they're getting along. We really don't know. So it's like it feels like there's a lot of unknowns, which could be good or bad. I don't know. Like time will tell. So I
Well, even those 4 plays that you mentioned, which was in the second preseason game against Cincinnati, the offensive line that was there, that wasn't the offensive line. Coleman didn't play in that game. So you had Wiley, I think, was playing left guard in that game.
They did awesome though.
Well, yeah, but they did great. But again, it's not the 5 that are going to be starting in the positions that they're going to be starting come Sunday, and hopefully that way until Cosme comes back, because and we don't know when he's going to come back, but we know he's out at least the first 4 weeks of the season. Because once he
Tunsil
comes
wasn't
back,
even in on.
I'm sorry.
Tunsil wasn't in on the Bengals, right?
Right,
I
so
don't
he
think he
wasn't there
played.
either. Yeah, so
Yeah, you're right. So
that's, yeah, they did fine for the 4 plays that they were in there. but and they were going against the Bengals starters, so that does give a little bit of optimism. But what happens come Sunday is, I think, gonna be a little bit different. I
Yeah,
don't
for
mean that.
sure.
I don't mean that it's going to be bad. I just mean it's you got a different offensive line, and we'll see how well it goes.
Got to wonder how the Giants are going to look this year after what they were last year and the changes they've made. And
Well, so I did look at that. They've got, well, from their end of the season roster to this year, they have 14 new people on their roster. So 14 of their 53 are brand new, and of that, a couple of the standouts, obviously they brought in Russell Wilson. No more Daniel Jones for the Giants. Russell Wilson is their starter, even though they drafted Jackson Dart in the first round, quarterback. Wilson's going to be their starter beginning of the season, and we'll see how long that goes. And then they also drafted with I think he was the number 3 pick overall in the first round, Abdul Carter out of Penn State. He's a defensive end, linebacker, edge player, whatever you want to call it. This guy was a unanimous All-American last year in college. He was a number 3 pick overall. That's got to say something about him. That they should be in. I think their defensive line, from the few reports that I read, seems to be pretty good. But Russell Wilson is kind of a wild card. The guy's been an All-Pro. He's won a Super Bowl. He's been to a number of Pro Bowls, but he's also been on 4 different teams in the last 5 years. So, and the fact that Pittsburgh got rid of Russell Wilson to bring in 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers. So I'm not sure what their roster is going to look like, but they had to improve the same way that Washington improved, and they signed a couple of free agents. I didn't dive too much into that, but they signed some people for some multi-year contracts as opposed to one-year contracts. But but I was listening to John Cohn's podcast, and he was interviewing the guy from ESPN who covers the Giants, and he said their defensive line is going to be pretty stout. And the one issue they have is they have an All-Pro tackle, Andrew Thomas, and he has an injured foot. He may not be available, which would be great if he's not available.
Yeah.
But because that'll hopefully then Von Miller can make a nice big opening statement for the Washington portion of his career. But yeah, that's kind of where the Giants are in a nutshell. And Washington swept them last year. Took both games against the Giants for the first time since what was it? I wrote this down. Since 2021, they swept the Giants. Last
that was
year.
not long ago. That's not very
That's a couple
impressive.
of years. It's 3 years. I mean, this is the Giants. They've been, they had Daniel Jones as a quarterback. They were going through their own issues the same as Washington was. But
Giving away their prized running back and doing stupid things like that too. Let's not forget that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much, right? Signing Daniel Jones to a long-term contract and letting Barkley leave. Yeah, that was a brilliant move by their. You would almost think they had hired a former Washington GM or something. But the one thing I went back on is, so Washington played the Giants in the second game last season, and Washington lost to Tampa Bay in Week 1 last year, and the Giants come to town, and we're not sure what we've got. Jane Daniels didn't have, he had a good game against the Browns, but they lost. We're still trying to figure things out. The Giants come to town. Their kicker, Graham Gano, gets hurt on the opening kickoff. So they couldn't kick extra points or field goals. And I don't know if you remember, but Washington that week before the game switched kickers, brought in Austin Siebert, who then
Mhm.
proceeded to kick 7 field goals
Oh, that's right.
for Washington to win the game 21-18.
Right,
And
because Washington could only kick field goals,
because
and the
Washington
Giants
could
could
only
not.
kick field goals, and because Malik Neighbors dropped a pass on 4th down with just over 2 minutes to go, deep in Washington's territory when the score was tied 18-all. So when I was going over that and rereading that and looking at some of the stats, we talked about how fortunate Washington was last year with the converting the percentage of the 4th down conversions being so high, and the last drives and stuff, the game against Dallas and obviously Chicago winning at the very end on the last second. This is a game that they should have lost, and they won because of some freak plays. The fact that they couldn't kick extra points and had to go for 2, the fact that they couldn't kick a field goal there at the end and had to go for it on 4th down, and Neighbors drops it and they turn the ball over and Washington goes down and kicks the 7th field goal to win the game. That's, call it luck or whatever, but to me, that's, people point to the Cincinnati game as Jaden's coming out, but I think this is the game that when you look back on it, that you say, oh, this is the way it's going to be. We're going to get the bounce. We're going to get the good
Right.
bounce this year. And it turns into a 12-win season. So I guess, we again, there's nothing we really haven't talked about at this point. So we're rehashing a few things, but how confident do we think that we can keep up that good fortune and the ball keep bouncing our way? And yeah, we touched on it last week. And Mike, I'll come to you first. But last week, Mike, you posed the question, so that's why I'm going to come to you first. Is do we think that they can win 10 games or double-digit games? And we all agreed they could.
Mhm.
Do we? How much good fortune do we need to hit that mark? Do we need to have the high percentage of 4th downs, or do we have a little bit more room for error with this team, knowing that with the upgrades that they've made?
I mean, I think to hit the 10 wins even, they need the ball to bounce their way a few times. I think, and look, we've talked about this. And it's funny, I've been reading stuff this week, and there's a lot of people out there saying the same thing. There's people out there saying they won't make the playoffs, that they're, and all the same things we've talked about, that they had some lucky breaks, they have a harder schedule, things like that. So yeah, I do think they're gonna need some things to go their way. Some lucky breaks here and there. Maybe that is the only one. The 4th down conversions, if they keep doing that, is enough to put them over. But
Right.
yeah, I hate to say it, but I think it's going to take some of that still.
Joe?
Yeah, I think Mike's right that it's always going to take some. I feel like they won't need as much luck to win the games. I think we're going to be I hope we're going to be more competitive this year, and I hope we look better.
Okay.
And that while we still will need luck and we will need those balls to bounce our way every once in a while, I I think that we're going to be able to create our own luck a little bit better along the way this year. And I
And
do want to
maybe,
point out. Oh,
no, go ahead.
as just to say, I want to point out that a lot of people are talking about the sophomore slump with quarterbacks, and
Right.
everyone's saying, "Oh, Jaden's going to have this sophomore slump." But then I saw something else that reminded us today that Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes on their sophomore seasons were MVPs. So it's like
Okay.
it's
I
not a
didn't know that.
guarantee that you're going to have a sophomore slump, and
Right.
everyone's still praising Jaden. So hopefully, the luck will continue and he will grow as a quarterback, and we'll have, only time will tell. But it's it's promising.
Mike, what were you going to say?
Oh no, I just as we're talking about it being luck. I guess for me, I think they're not going to be dominating games, so they're still going to have close games and need some of those things to break their way. It may not take things like the Hail Mary in the Chicago game. It may not be that kind, because that was just pure luck. So to your point, Joe, make some of their own luck. I just think they're not going to go in and dominate a bunch of these games, and so it's going to be close games, I think.
Well, and they didn't dominate last year either. I mean,
Right, but they also got luck to your point at one play here and it goes the other way. I think we're looking at close games again.
okay, well, that's good. Maybe I'll order
Bring
some
on the
more heart
cardiac commanders,
medication.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, well, I mean, I just, it's funny. I am excited for the season, but I'm not. I don't know. I feel like I should be more excited. Uh, just and maybe that's because of I'm reading what everyone else is posting online. Everyone's super excited, and NFC Championship game last year, that bar is now set high uh, for results for this team. I mean, we did it. We said ourselves that this team can show this team can be better than last year's team, but have a worse record. They can show improvement and be a better team, but maybe only end up with 10 wins or 11 wins. I won't say 9 since we all said they would have double-digit wins, but they won't have 12 wins. Maybe they won't win the division, and maybe they won't go to the NFC Championship game, but they can still be a better team. And part of that is obviously they're going up against tougher competition this year than they did last year. So uh, we'll I guess time will tell. We I guess we're still it's still the hurry up and wait. We want the season to start. We want to be able to get into the games and see what this team can actually do instead of just relying on random reports from camp that because even the media hasn't been able to see all the practices nowadays. So we don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on with the offensive line. We don't know exactly where Noah Brown is in his recovery. We don't know where Terry is with his conditioning, his football conditioning. Uh, we don't know how the running back situation is going to play out now that Robinson's not here. Even though we're I think this is kind of where we were. We're fine with him not being here and with the 4 running backs they're going with, but we don't know exactly what we've got. And can McCaffrey and Sinnott take that next step? Mike, you talk about sophomore slumps. I want to see some sophomore explosions from McCaffrey and Sinnott so we can justify drafting those guys because those are the offensive weapons that everyone said Jaden needed to go along with Terry. They added Debo, sure, but there's plenty of ball to go around to everybody. Is there anything you're looking you're kind of in anticipation of the game for Sunday that you're looking forward to seeing, or in particular how they might handle something? Or I mean, I know obviously we're looking for a win, but is there anything in particular you're hoping to see in week 1 that'll make you say, okay, all right, I'm not worried about that anymore, or I feel better about this, or yeah, we were right. That is going to be a strong point or something. And Mike, will go to you on this first. Is there
Yeah.
anything you're kind of looking for in week 1 to put your mind at ease or give you a little more confidence about the team?
I think for me, the O line, I'd like to see, if the changes there make a difference and if we see, see how that goes. So, you know, um, especially bringing Tunsil in, is he going to make a difference? I would like to see an immediate impact from the offensive line, though, I think.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Joe, how about yourself?
I think I'm going to measure our success based on first downs, as silly as this sounds, but it's like I want to see him moving the ball. I want to see him getting first downs. I think I'm not savvy enough to watch offensive linemen to know that they're doing their job right, other than like if a hole's created and someone goes through it, they must have done their job right. So it's
That's
like
fair.
I got to look at it from the fan perspective. It's like as long as we're getting first downs, we're moving the ball, then obviously things are falling in line the way they're supposed to. And I think you're absolutely right, Mike, that like the offensive line is probably my biggest concern, or was my biggest concern coming in this year, and making sure that Jaden gets protected, that holes are created for run game. And it would be nice if, the entire offense does not rely on Jaden for trying to make magic every single time. Like,
Right. Well, Joe, you're right. I mean, look, this is who we are. We joke about it, but with zero credentials, we're not watching the coach's 22 film. We're not zeroing in on footwork of the left guard on the counter run in the second quarter. That's not who we are. That's not what we're going to do. We'll leave that up to the actual experts as opposed to the experts that we are. I'm going to go the other side of the ball and say defense. I want to see how the secondary is going to play out. With we Lattimore is to me is still a question mark. Is he healthy? Can he make it through a season? I don't necessarily need to see him get back to the top of his game as much as that would be nice, but can he make it through? And is he ready to go? Trey Amos, he's a rookie. He's gotten a lot of praise through camp. Is that justified when he's now has to face? He might be going up against neighbors in this first game, depending on how everybody lines up. That's going to be a huge first test for him if that's the case. And the secondary and the rest with the safeties, no more Jeremy Chin. We all got accustomed to having him back there, and so we've made some changes, but we basically have three new people in the defensive backfield. If you look at Lattimore as someone new, I know he played some games last year, but he didn't play that many. So that's where I'm looking to see how they hold up with that. And I just I hope the defensive line as well plays well. That's we talk about continuity with the offensive line. The defensive line is the same thing. I mean, we made so many changes on the defensive line this year. We got four new defensive linemen that weren't on the team from last year, and hopefully they'll gel pretty quick. We had Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne playing next to each other for a number of years, and that was coming off their time together in Alabama. They knew how each other played. They played well off of each other for the most part. We don't have that anymore, and so that'll be interesting to see how well that develops. But I mean, I guess that's it. I mean, we're a few days out now from kickoff, and I am looking forward to watching tomorrow's game. Was it Cowboys and Eagles? And I'm already trying to figure out how I'm going to watch week 2 because Washington plays on Thursday night against the Packers and Micah Parsons, and that's on Prime. So I got to figure out how to watch that game. So I'm already looking ahead to that. But I am looking forward to setting my alarm to wake up Sunday morning because I got to set my alarms on weekends now to get up and watch football rather than sleeping in. And I believe we're going to have Tom Brady on the call.
Cool.
I'm so excited about that.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, it's great. I'm really happy for Tom Brady. I have a question. So speaking of that, I'm curious. Would you guys? Maybe this is just me being, me. Oh, look! I get the game locally out here. That's interesting. L.A. hits the Giants at Washington. Most of the country gets that game. If you ever want to know who's playing where, in what part of the country, and who's getting what local games, you can go to a website called 506 Sports, and they'll tell you who the announcers are for each game and what markets are getting which game. Tom Brady is an owner of the Las Vegas Raiders, and yet he's calling games in the NFL.
Yeah.
Is that a conflict of interest, or is that just me being overreactive?
Probably both.
Appreciate that.
It probably is a problem. It probably I don't care. The Raiders
I don't
suck.
I don't think it's great. Even if it's just optics, it doesn't look good.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think it's a good thing, but
And then again, I don't like him, so that might play into my opinion.
okay, fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Well, that's all I wanted to touch on tonight. You guys got anything you want to throw out before the first game? Uh, I know we've gone 6 months without doing any real predictions.
Sure.
Do we want to start now, or do we care? Or, wh- Joe, you're kind of nodding your head. What do you think is going to happen on
Sure,
Sunday?
they're going to win. The Commanders are going to win.
Yeah, Commanders are gonna win.
You're like, fuck you, Rob. Of course they're gonna win.
What kind of stupid question is that? I don't know that the Giants did enough to make themselves any better. I'm hoping we just stomp on them.
Okay. Do you
I want
do
to
you
see an
want
ass whooping game.
okay, so you want to see that? I was gonna say, do you want to give a score? Or you don't care what the score is, you just want to see Washington dominate everything
You know
and really
what?
embarrass the
I'll tell you
Giants.
what. What notice the most is if it's a dominant game, it's actually kind of boring to watch. And last year, all these games were close, and it felt different last year. And you knew that you actually had a chance. If you were losing, you really felt like you could come back and win.
Well,
Or
and
if
you
you
had
were
to
winning,
watch. You had to watch.
yeah, but it was, and yes, and everything was unpredictable, and it was like, but it was exciting, and it's like that Hail Mary, they never work, but you sat there and you're like, I think this could work. Like, we might have this is the luck that haven't had for 20
Nobody
some
thought.
odd years. What?
Nobody thought that was gonna work before it
Yeah,
worked.
I'm with Mike on that. No one thought it was gonna work.
I definitely thought it was going to work.
Joe's been drinking the Kool-Aid too much.
Yeah.
I have.
Well, Mike, you already said Washington's going to win. Do you have anything to add on to that prediction? Do you
No,
want
I'm
to see a
not.
blowout? Do
I'm
you?
not picking a score or anything. I mean, I'd love to see a blowout. I wouldn't mind that, but I don't think it's gonna be that. I'm not trying to pick a score though.
Okay,
It's bold enough just to make a prediction.
right? Okay, well, I'm with you all. I do think Washington will win. I think they'll be playing at home. They got the ceremony for Santana Moss as they put him into the Ring of Honor. Uh, I am curious, and this is the last question I have for the two of you. Well, first, let me touch on this. So the injury report came out. This is the first injury report of the season, and they do this each day. And so Zach Ertz did not practice today, just for rest. Uh, Dorrance Armstrong, Noah Brown, and Jonathan Jones were all limited in practice with knee injuries or a hamstring for Jonathan Jones. And Marcus Mariota and Matt Gay both were full participants in practice. Uh, just want to throw that out there so I could mention the kicker one more time. And now I forgot the question I was going to ask because, well, that's the way it goes. Um, and I can't even remember. I was going to ask you one last final question, and I can't remember what it was going to be.
Uh, I'm going to do it. 31-24.
That's not a blowout.
No, it's no. I want to blow out, but no. I'm saying a score.
Okay.
Okay. That's
Mike,
bold.
you're not going with the score, are you?
No.
Okay. All right. So now I remember the question I was going to ask. So it was announced, and it was funny because you see, I saw all the people who cover the team on Twitter. They're like, per a source, the game is sold out on Sunday. So my question to you, and Joe, I'm going to go to you first. What percentage of the crowd will be Washington, and what percentage will be
Ooh.
Giants fans?
Ooh.
You know what? I think the Giants have just not been good enough for people wanting to travel there, but DC is such a transient area. I think there's going to be more blue in there than there should be. But I think the miracle last year has reinvigorated the fan base, and I think Commanders will have a good showing. So, 75-25.
Okay. Mike?
I go 70-30. I'm kind of agree with you, Joe. I think also I'm not sure people are going to travel down from New York for a shitty Giants team. What presumably is
Yeah.
a shitty Giants team.
So my initial thought was 60-40 Washington to Giants fans. And the reason I say that is you're right. I don't think people will travel necessarily, but I think the NFL is going more and more to there's not as much of a home field advantage, with the exception of a few teams, with maybe like a Buffalo or Kansas City, and maybe Washington can get back there. Who knows? But I look at myself. I'm looking forward. Washington is playing in Los Angeles this year. I'm going to go to that game. At least that's the plan as of now. I, you know, people go to games. They can't go to all the games, so they go to the games where they are. And yes, people have moved around so much nowadays that you have fans in cities all over. And so it's like here in LA when Washington comes, I think I'm expecting to have a good turnout of Washington fans because this is the only chance we have to see the team play live. I've only seen Washington play live twice in the 17 years that I've been in LA. And that was both in the same season when they played the Rams and the Chargers. And I miss going to games as much as I hate the production that goes on at games, being at a game. And I'd rather watch it up from my couch where I can not have to pay $10 for a beer or $8 for a soda or, whatever it is, $10 for a stupid hot dog or whatever they're charging nowadays. But there is still something about going to a game. And so, yeah, when Washington comes out here, that's the plan. I'm going to that game. So that's why I think it'll be a little bit closer. I think the percentage of Giants fans will be a little bit higher just because the fans that are the New York Giants fans that are in Washington, they're going to want to go to the game, not necessarily the fans that are going to come down from New York. Even though there will be some that will come down from New York. I think there's a good enough fan base of Giants fans in DC that will want to go.
Well, we'll see.
But we'll know in what, 5 days, 4 days, 4 days,
4 days, yeah.
4 days. All right. So last chance. Anything you guys want to throw out? Last
No.
chance before kickoff, as it were.
Nothing for me.
All right. So
Nothing for me.
So our plan is to be back next Wednesday, and we'll recap I shouldn't say this, Washington's win. God help me. And hopefully we'll also discuss my lottery winnings from tonight's jackpot of 1.4 billion. In which case we'll all be together doing a podcast. And then we'll also talk about the upcoming game because the week 2 game is a week from tomorrow against Green Bay. So that'll do it for us. We appreciate you watching and tuning in and listening and downloading and all that stuff. Leaving comments. It's always much appreciated. Remember, you can find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, as well as on YouTube. And so until next week, bye.
See ya.